Looks like it's gonna work.
What now? Right. All right, out of the way.
All right, so everyone's gonna get this alert as being live streamed, so it's gonna ask you to agree. Well, hello, everyone. This is Becky
Oh.
Waller here at the Cancer Survivorship Center, and I wanted to welcome you to week 2 of our Healthier Habits, as we are going on a journey, no matter what goals we're setting, that we're all making progress and we're actually getting towards our goals, whether it is eating better, exercise, being better, more diligent about mindfulness. There are so many different ways that we could be trying to improve our health. So last week we got started on our goals, like talking about the idea of what makes a habit, how does this pop up? And mostly what we came down to, our habits are just repeated activities that we do regularly, and eventually it forms into a habit. Good, bad, or indifferent, the more we do something, the more likely it is to become a habit. Tonight, what I wanted to touch on is the idea of SMART goals, like when we're really looking at our goal setting and doing what we need to eventually create these habits that are, prolonging our health, that we're making sure we're fitting them to ourselves. There's lots of different random goals I can throw out, but this way we can approach it of why are we doing it and how can we do it so that we're making progress and not feeling like, I can't figure this out. Like, it's just not working. I've sent 100, New Year's resolutions and none of them stick. Sometimes it can come down to making sure that we're doing what we need to do so that we can meet our goals. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen and we'll be ready to do this. While I'm sharing my screen, if you have questions, feel free to live chat. It should pop up at the top. I can't see you since we're in this, but we have our Healthier Habits SMART goals. So I'm going to start off, since I'm, talking to you from a Cancer Survivorship Center, I do like to start out with the basis of why in the world do we care about habits? What's the purpose? And this can apply, habits apply to far more than just cancer survivorship, cancer prevention. We're also looking at the realm of heart disease, diabetes, general longevity when we look at like bones and joints. Like, there's lots of different reasons that we want to focus on making improvements to our diet, our lifestyles, our mindset, so that we are preventing problems in the future or helping correct problems that we currently have. So, on this slide here, you can see cancer is the second leading cause of death for both men and women in the United States, and that's only behind heart disease. So everything we talk about in terms of making habits, we should really think about, what is going on with my own current health? Do I have any family history of these conditions? Or should I really be mindful of the fact that the things I'm choosing to do every day or over and over multiple times every day really can have a big effect on how my body is behaving. So people with cancer often experience like physical side effects, when you're currently in it. It can also be stressful for family members, caregivers. But past that, we can see that there's a lot of different things that can affect our risk of developing different medical problems. For Americans who don't use tobacco smoke, the most important risk factors of developing cancer are body weight, diet, and physical activity. And we could easily say those same 3 things apply for heart disease, they apply for diabetes. So there's a plethora of conditions that can be a problem when it comes to how we are living our lives and how it could affect us later on. So at least 18% of all specifically cancers diagnosed are related to either being overweight, being inactive, consuming too much alcohol, or just not eating right, making poor food choices. And you realize all of these factors are preventable. Most time when people develop high blood sugars, high blood pressure, a lot of times it is affected by other factors of how we are living, not just, well, my parents, my grandparents had the condition. There are things that we can be doing to stave off our risk of developing certain issues, as long as we're making better daily choices and developing those into healthier habits. So American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Diabetes Association, they would recommend that you get to and stay at a healthy body weight throughout your life. So that means eating right. That means activity. That also means managing things like stress, which can affect how you eat, how you sleep, and which we know have a big impact on how our body functions. Hold on one sec. I'm going to escape out of there really quick. 1 second, guys. For some reason it wasn't allowing me to do both. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing. So, all right. Let's move past that. So when we're looking at being, physically active, what are important goals we should be looking at in order to possibly add them into our lifestyle, into what we're doing? And, for adults, no matter what point you're at in your life, eventually you want to get to the goal of 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity activity every week. Now, we say that every week because ideally, if you could do something every day, if we break that 150 down, that's 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity like walking or biking 5 days a week. Gives you a little bit of a break. Some people have super busy days and they're like, I can't exercise every single day. You don't have to. You can break it into bite-sized pieces and make it work for you. But when we're seeing the best health results with people, and we're finding the people who are less likely to become ill or have chronic diseases, they tend to be up and moving and stay active. So moderate intensity, you don't have to do hardcore activity. Walking is a great option. Cycling if you need something, or elliptical if you can't do a lot on your joints, or being able to go in the water. Now, for people who are able to do more vigorous intensity activity, really getting that heart rate up, like running or sprinting or fast cycling, the minutes that you need to spend being active actually reduces a little bit, because you can cover a greater distance in a shorter period of time. So it's really just a function of that. So you can accomplish the same health improving goals, especially for heart health, in 75 minutes per week of that intense exercise, like running or fast cycling, that you could do with walking in 150 minutes. Now, it doesn't mean you have to become a sprinter. It's just laying those things out. Since everyone's at different points, some people, if they can do more vigorous activity for less time over the week, then that might fit better into their lives. Or my favorite thing is piecing them together. Sometimes doing some moderate and maybe bursts of some more active can be a nice way of balancing that activity in your life and giving you variety, and also just seeing the good benefit on your heart, and getting you to your good health goals. So we can combine these. Now, for children and teens, we want at least an hour every day of moderate or vigorous intensity activity. So moving on. No matter what, we always want to have a healthy eating pattern, more fruits and vegetables. We know as far as disease prevention, and these are just throwing little nuggets or ideas towards you for health goals. For any of you in here who are thinking, I need to change things. We want foods that are high in vitamins and minerals and other nutrients. And you want to be able to get that every single day. Not, well, I can only eat a salad once a week. You're really looking at finding that good variety of fruits and vegetables regularly, and it helps promote a better body weight. If I'm filling up on nutritious foods that are not calorie dense and are high in fiber and high in different vitamins and minerals, I'm going to be in a lot better spot than if I'm only randomly getting some fruits and vegetables. Incorporating more of the good fiber rich and protein rich beans and peas good plant-based proteins, and then more whole fruits. Now, it doesn't mean you have to sit and crunch on a whole apple, but what whole fruit means is not juice. If you're going to take a fruit, cut it up, make it into a smoothie, it still starts as a whole fruit. That counts. We have all the components of that fruit or that vegetable, so it is giving you all the different nutrients that you want. So whole grains are also a good thing to have in, like whole wheat bread, brown rice, quinoa, barley. I could go on and on and on. So we're looking for a nice, healthy pattern as far as preventing different disease conditions and promoting a good, healthy weight. And overall, no matter what we're looking at, it's best for most of us not to drink alcohol. It's extra calories, it's extra sugar, but should you choose, women should limit it to like 1 drink per day. And they give the guidelines at the bottom: a 12-ounce beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a spirit. Or men, no more than 2 drinks per day. And we're looking at that, whether it's cancer prevention, diabetes, heart disease, and we see a huge correlation between alcohol consumption and definitely cancers of the gastrointestinal tract, like mouth, throat, stomach, colon cancer, even breast cancer does have a link with higher alcohol intake. So all the little pieces of what we do can contribute in the long run to our general health. So we'll go to the next one. All right. So how are we going to break this down into bite-sized pieces? And that's the important thing right now. We want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we're setting goals that are realistic and doable. All right, so SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limited. These are a good way to be able to make sure that when I set a goal, that it's actually going to be a beneficial one for me. So when I say specific, it means you can close your eyes and you can actually see yourself doing it. It is that specific. So the example I give here is I can visualize myself eating a vegetable as an afternoon snack every day to help with my weight loss efforts. So I can actually see myself sitting down. I have a plate of carrots and celery and some cucumbers, and maybe I have a side of hummus. And that's very specific. It makes it easier in order to make this into something I could do every day. It's very hard to visualize yourself just losing weight. You get on the scale and it spins from one number all the way down to the next. I mean, that's a slower process. Getting to be having more endurance in walking, like specifically visualizing yourself going from slower walking to faster and longer distances. It's not as specific. So we need to break those things down into a way that can actually become a goal. Measurable means you need to be able to track it. We have to have some way of knowing that we're hitting our goal or that we're making progress to know if it's actually a good goal for us. So you can track the number of days that you're eating a healthy meal at home, or you can track how long I'm doing my workouts, but measuring goals can also serve as a great marker of progress. So if I've started, we got the example at the beginning of class that, working at increasing the amount of time that we're walking, starting with a couple minutes a day. If I start at 2 minutes, then I could see after a week, maybe I'm increasing that to 5 minutes. Maybe after a month, I'm at about 10 or 15 minutes. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to make sure we're accomplishing this and that we're moving forward. Because our whole goal right now when we're doing healthier habits is we want to move past the point we are right now and go forward to the next step. So think about those little star charts. Like, I have kids in grade school and I love that they're very visual. You did a good job on something and you see the gold stars. You see, that there's some progress, that, hey, you did a great job. Thinking about your calendar. I'm very tactile. I like to have a calendar that I write in front of me versus alerts on my phone. That's just how I am. But it also serves for me that I can open my calendar. I can mark off the days that I'm working out. I can see that when I open it. And, the more days that I put in there, it's one of those self-fulfilling cycles, because as we said last week, which we'll touch on in the end, is that when we're setting a habit, there needs to be some sort of reward. I want to see that I'm doing it, and that little star, that little happy thing on top of your page, that can be the reward in itself, that it's really helping making sure that I'm making some progress and I'm pretty pleased with that. So think of ways that you can measure your progress. Even if it's, I need to take more time to relax and meditate because my stress level, and I'm really working at stress, that could be the number of minutes that you're spending, doing yoga or doing mindfulness exercises. So there's countless ways that you can look at measuring the amount of time that you're spending in a certain goal. This is an important one. It needs to be attainable. I can have the greatest notions that I'm going to climb a mountain, but if I have 2 bad knees, a horrible back, and, asthma induced by exercise, that's probably not the best goal for me. I might need to modify it a little bit. So we give the example here of the Goldilocks rule. You really want to think about making something just right. So the goal has to be a comfortable stretch. And I think this is a really important part of it, that whatever we're doing right now can be good. But if you're here and trying to think of, healthier habits, usually we want to be able to move a little past where we are at this moment. A lot of us, we might do some level of activity. Maybe you've walked the same mile around your neighborhood for the last 2 years. And I know I can do that mile. But that wouldn't, we want to go maybe a little bit further. Can I do 1.5 miles? Can I do a little jogging in there? Something that's just a touch more than what you're currently doing makes that more realistic that you can attain it and push forward in the long term to reach a bigger goal. If maybe I'm going to walk a 10K for breast cancer. So a little bit more than what you're doing right now, but not so far that it makes you feel anxious or overwhelmed. And that's the important part. It has to be enough that's manageable, but not too much that you throw in the towel after a week or so. So we come back to our quote from last week, which is Voltaire's, "The best is the enemy of the good." And the reason we use this quote is that we need a reminder that we have to make things a little bit easier. If I can have the best notions of my exercise, the best diet I could be on, the best meditation retreats that take me to a silent place for a week, but it may not be easy. If there's too many bumps in it, there's too much planning, I don't have the right time off, I don't have the right equipment for it, then you're just going to be stuck looking at your list of the best things you can do. You have to break it down and make it a little bit easier for you so that you're able to start making progress towards these healthier goals. It also has to be relevant to you. If it doesn't matter to you, you won't keep doing it. I can't hear the number of times I'm a dietitian. People get sent to me by their doctors all the time because I work with a lot of different types of conditions: weight loss, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes, heart disease. The doctor says you have to go see the dietitian and fix your diet. If you're only coming because the doctor told you and it doesn't have any meaning to you, I guarantee you that's the person I never hear from again, because it's I came, the doctor said to go, check the box, dietitian notes there, on with my life. You have to really care about what you want to do. And it reminds me of a story that I'd read about a young man who would take his mom to doctor's appointments, and she was significantly overweight with diabetes, heart disease, bad joints from years of having this extra weight, had to walk with a cane, had asthma, needed oxygen. So she had a lot going on. So she really needed his help in order to get to and from places. So he spent a lot of time waiting in the waiting rooms while she would be with the doctor so he could take her home. He was in the same sort of journey as her. significantly younger, only in his like late 20s, getting close to 30, and was overweight, starting to have some issues with his blood sugar, not really able to work out for very long because I think he was at least like 150 pounds overweight. And while reading a magazine one day in the doctor's office, came across this man who's an ultra marathoner. Now, if any of you have ever heard of ultra marathons, they go for over 50 miles. It's usually through wooded areas. It's not like a flat, simple thing. It can take, it could take more than a day. Usually it's about 24 hours you have to complete something, and there's a cutoff time. But he was really inspired by this and thinking, man, I really don't want to go on the same journey in health problems that I'm seeing my mom's going on. This means something to me. Like, I really want to someday be able to do that ultra marathon. Now, was it realistic for him to set the goal of an ultra marathon in the immediate future? No. So he took the step to get in touch with the person in the article. Hey, I'm really interested in this. I have these health problems. Give me an idea how to start. So the start was with walking, eventually running. It really took time for him to build up in order to get to the next point where he'd be able to run the ultra marathon. So I'll touch on him in a moment, but that was relevant. So picking this huge goal that took a lot of significant changes to his life was something that he was able to push through because he cared about it. He cared about not having heart and lung and, blood sugar issues like his mom, and he wanted to live a healthy life. And so you have to think the same way, is that I need to make sure that this matters to me. I'm not just doing something to satisfy my family or my doctor or a friend. It also needs to have a deadline. If you don't have some sort of time limit on this, then you're really not going to get anywhere. You're going to, kind of throw it out there. I'll check in on that New Year's resolution next December 31st. And you kind of forget about it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I did say that I was going to do that 10K this year and I never got around to it. So having an endpoint is a good way for you to pause and reflect on whether it's successful or what do I need to do to alter this a little bit. We need check-in points, and you don't want your check-in points so far down the road. Your goal might be far down the road, but these little smaller steps we are taking to get to our long-term goal needs to be, quicker. You need to be seeing, am I making progress? Am I getting a gold star on my exercise so that I'm moving towards the chance of someday being able to do my ultra marathon? The next goal, you need to recognize and reflect on this entire progress, so that think of that time limit and at some check-in point. So increasing your chances for success, we really need to have like 3 steps in our goal setting. Step 1 is set aside time to understand the reasons behind your goal. You got to make sure you want to do this. So don't move forward until you answer. So our 3 questions are going to be, in what ways does this goal align with my personal values? Is it significant to me? If I want to be able to, eat healthier and be mindful, is that a personal value of mine? That's sitting and being quiet and thoughtful and reflecting, is that important to me? How does this goal get closer to my vision of the future? Is it working in conjunction with where I want to go? So if I'm setting my small goals, my ultra marathon in this picture being my big goal, my small goal is going to be, I need to at least be able to get outside and walk for 10 minutes a day. And in 3 months, I should be able to run a mile. If I can't run a mile, then the idea of running an ultra marathon is never going to be able to be, shouldn't be a goal I'm searching for. I need to adjust it, not give up, not say I failed, but say, this isn't the right size goal for me. I need to switch it. And finally, does this excite you? Because if you're not excited about what you're going to do, that's when, it's really exciting when we first set a goal and yay, I'm going to eat healthier and I'm going to lose weight. But if you're not excited from that first day, it's really hard to wake up the next morning and start adding in the goal. So you have to be able to take that time to figure out, is this important to me? And do I find the way that I'm choosing to do these things exciting? All right, step 2. Once you've identified your goal, break it down into smaller daily or weekly tasks. All right. So you need to have it in bite-sized pieces. If it's too big, you're not going to do it. If it's too small, well, there is no too small. Let's forget, there's nothing too small. Start at 2 minutes. And then if you can attain that 2 minutes and it was really easy, then you can easily start increasing from there to like 4 minutes. So make sure it's never too big. And if you are finding it's really easy to achieve the current goal, that's when you know it's time to start pushing past. So if you have confidence that you can do this on a scale of 1 to 10, and your confidence of being able to accomplish your goal is less than 7, then that's the cue that you need to break down into smaller parts. So if I'm thinking right away by day 1, I want to be able to run a mile and I haven't run ever, and my confidence is at a 2, then I better switch that and say, okay, I'm going to be able to walk for a 1/4 of a mile. Okay, I feel good about that. I know I can do that. So that way, you know that you're not setting yourself up for failure. And it's nothing wrong with failing, but if failing causes you to throw in the towel and just not do it, that's the bigger problem. We really want to be making progress in finding ways that we can be successful in any level at any pace. So begin tracking so that you have a snapshot at your progress that you can look at. Because when I track it and I can see, wow, I've been doing this for the last 2 weeks, that's great. Do I need to do a little bit more, or am I getting closer to this setting into a habit? Step 3 is going to be share your goals with someone else. So back to that guy who wanted to run the ultra marathon. Now, it's really easy to be like, I want to run this ultra marathon. It's my secret little goal that I have deep down in my heart. And I did talk to a stranger that I don't know, and he's going to help me. But if I never put myself out there and say anything to another person, it's kind of giving you that freedom to fail. And I think many of us have maybe done this. Like if you've tried, I tried Weight Watchers and I'm going to lose all this weight. And then eventually I'd stop doing it and then I gained it back. And then the next time I want to try Weight Watchers, I don't want to tell anyone this time because I don't want them to judge me. Well, that way you really are hiding that. And I think that's your way of maybe that's not the right goal for you. So the ultra marathoner, knowing he's 150 pounds overweight, knowing he's not active, told his mom and his sister and an aunt and said, hey, this is my goal, because eventually, when you're going to do something as big as he planned on doing, he really needed those people. You can't run a 50+ mile race without people meeting you at checkpoints to bring you stuff. So it was a necessity that he brought people into his goal and said, hey, this is something I want to do. It's super hard, but it also puts a level of accountability and encouragement, not just for them to say, hey, did you get up and do your exercise? But for them to be like, hey, good job. I can see you're really putting effort forward. And that's an incredible motivation for a lot of us to have a community, whether it's family, it could be friends, just someone you have some sort of contact with. It could be an online health coach that is not necessarily related to you, but someone that you're accountable and checking in and letting them know, hey, this is what I'm doing with my little behaviors as I want to build these up into habits. And that can be incredibly helpful for you moving forward. So don't hide the goals you want. If it's something important to you, it's definitely worth sharing with other people. And then finding a role model who practices the goal you aspire to. It could be working with the health coach. It could be another person who's done similar activities with you. It could be someone who's like a personal trainer, or, we have our mindfulness coach here, Nina. Like that is a great way of being able to move forward in your goals because you have some help. All right, so let's put these SMART goals, the specific, measurable, attainable, and time constrained, relevant and time limited to the test. So when we have our big goals, when we're looking at our habit forming little chart, this is that cue, craving, response, reward. And we said it a lot last week. It's really important that as we are taking these bite-sized goals that we're going to be working on, that we can eventually turn into behaviors, which behaviors become habits. We need to make it work. So our cue is making it obvious. Our guy who wants to do the ultra marathon, the first thing he's going to do is going to have to start working out. So I'm certain, leave your clothes out. got my shoes right there by the door. I see them. I know I'm going to go do this. We talk about doing that short amount of time in the beginning. We need to make it attractive. The attractive thing is he really wanted to be able to do this because he was excited. So for some people, my example last week when I started, training for something, it was about being able to stop at Starbucks and get a coffee afterward. That was really like that attractive thing is I really want to have that. I like that. That it'll happen today. And that's going to be my satisfying reward at the very end. And make it easy. Don't start far beyond where you are right now. Just make it a comfortable stretch and then have your reward. So mine, getting my coffee after the running, was my reward. And eventually over time, the reward might change or the reward will fall off because it will become a habit. You no longer need that reward to make you change and build this into a habit. So making it obvious. So we sent out that idea of that structure that I will fill in the blank with whatever behavior you want to do pick a very specific time, not just sometime today. I'm going to be mindful. You need a specific time in a specific location. Or we talked about the habit stacking, which was after getting up and having coffee in the morning, I will sit down and meditate for 10 minutes, finding ways to link something you're already doing with something brand new that you want to start doing. All right. Make it easy. So we said, reduce friction. You have to make the steps easy. Don't think that you're going to go join some gym that's like 25 minutes away and that's beyond your budget. You have to make it simple. Start with going in your neighborhood, using equipment in your house. Make sure you're setting yourself up for success. So if you can control what's around you in your house to some degree, if you live with other people, there might be other hiccups, but you can negotiate how you're setting up, healthier foods that I want, times that I need to be able to be on a piece of equipment, quiet space where I can meditate that doesn't have a bunch of distractions. You really have to think about putting things in a place that makes it a lot easier for you. And the 2-minute rule. So we want to start small, baby steps, get up, you see what you got to do. I need to be able to meditate for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever I set my initial time is. If I'm thinking, okay, I only need to start with 2 minutes, I'm going to have my coffee. I'm going to open my meditation app on my phone that's going to play gentle music. And if I can just close my eyes and not have other distractions, then I have my 2 minutes and I can build that up. So you can't start a marathon with 26 miles. You have to start with tiny little steps. So keep thinking about ways that you can take that 2 minutes, which is a success in itself. And then as it's getting easier and easier, extend that 2 minutes out longer into the habit that you are forming. And eventually you get to the point of being successful at forming the new habit. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So last week we had sent out, a handout talking about doing, it was this one. So I had week 1. If anyone didn't get it, please just email me. I'll send it to you. But this had the idea of coming up with 3 goals. So some people had ideas right away last week of what they wanted to do, but 3 goals or even just 1, it doesn't have to be 3, that you want to accomplish in the next 4 weeks, or at least, or possibly goals that I want to be able to eventually accomplish in the next 4 months, but something that's small. So we go from, this is what I want to do in the long term. How am I going to break that down into the bite-sized pieces that I can accomplish now in at least 2 minutes? I'm thinking about that specific behavior. I will do this specific thing at this specific time in this specific location in my house or outside or at the gym, whatever I choose, or stacking things together. Now we're looking at that, and I sent another handout today that was talking about, SMART goals. We had that specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limited. So you want to think about your goals right now and thinking, okay, if my goal is to lose weight, I need to have more than just lose weight. I need to think, is it about what I'm eating? Do I need to look at how I'm being active? Do I need to think about maybe how I'm scheduling my time? I need to spend less time, on social media, watching TV, something that might be getting in the way of different things. I need to be unplugged from the internet for, an hour a day. So find those specific behaviors that can get you towards your goal so that you can reach those. Now, I've talked a lot in the last few minutes. So we have our cue, craving, response, reward, thinking about that structure. And now we're thinking about it relative to, is it specific enough for me? Can I measure how I'm getting there? Is it even possible what I plan to do? Do I care about it? And is it time? Do I have some sort of time that I'm going to check in on it? So before I fill in, or I'm going to have you guys let me know if there's anything you want to share at the end of the story of the ultra marathon guy, because everyone wants to know the end of the story, right? You hear about him. This guy looks at a magazine, talks to the person who ran an ultra marathon, decided I'm going to go from sitting on the couch to running more than 50 miles in a time constraint of less than 24 hours. He did it. He went, he signed up. He had his sister and an aunt come with to help him so that they could meet him at checkpoints, because you can't carry all your stuff with you when you're running through, wooded areas. You sometimes need to change shoes, you need food, you need rest breaks, you need a tent. So his accountability that he brought other people into his goal, it was relevant to him and he was able to be accountable. They came along on his journey. And unfortunately, he did not make the time limit. He was unable to finish in the time, so he wasn't considered a finisher in his first ultra marathon. But he didn't give up on it. He went back. He decided to sign up, said, okay, I need more time. I wasn't ready for it this time. I couldn't have done it when I first came up with the goal, but he put more time into it, still brought his family into it and said, I still need to be accountable. I need you. I need the support. Maybe didn't tell as many people as the first time, but he wasn't private about it. He did share that I'm going to do it again. And by the time he did his second one, he was able to accomplish it. So it was one of those things that sometimes the time limit might change a little bit. Once you get engaged in whatever habit you're trying to develop, you might realize that I need to adjust this a little bit so that it works better, so that it's actually going to fit what I need versus what I originally thought. So if you keep moving things in bite-sized pieces, eventually you can make progress to getting to these healthier goals. So does anyone have either a success or a challenge or something else that they want to share from what they've been doing with the healthier habits that we talked about last week, or even questions about how to apply that this week? And just so you know, I'm going to stop the live stream now so the tutorial part's down.